Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Blitzkrieg, our own strategic affairs show. On 15th of August, the Afghan army folded. The Afghan army surrendered in front of a marching Taliban who have now pretty much taken over the entire country. And yet we see celebrations across Pakistan. Pakistani media, Pakistani social media is going gaga as if there is their own personal victory here at stake. And everything coming out from Pakistan, except for a few sane voices, suggest that somehow Pakistanis believe, Pakistani media, Pakistani social media believe that somehow the Taliban can be used against India, whether it is in Afghanistan or in Kashmir. I have two great panelists with me today, and I'm looking forward to a lovely debate. I have Sushant Sareen, a senior fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, and I have Kamar Cheema with me, who's a defense analyst who joins us from Islamabad. Gentlemen, welcome. And let me pose the first question to Kamar Cheema. Kamar Cheema, I've been following Pakistani social media and mainstream media very closely, and there seems to be, apart from a few sane voices, there seems to be this joy, as if it is the Pakistani army that has won a huge victory in Kabul, and there is this support for Taliban. Do people in Pakistan not understand the repercussions for Pakistan if a radical Islamist government comes to power or Taliban comes to power, which it has in Afghanistan?
Well, I think for a broader understanding of this issue, we must understand that there is a lot of anti-Americanism in Pakistan. And remember back in 2002 and after the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war, much of the perception in the Muslim world started that the Americans have targeted, they consider Islam a threat. So after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, the Americans and the West has replaced red threat with the green threat. So that is a larger context where the think that the Taliban just represents some sections of the Muslim society. So that is one thing. The second is obviously Pakistan practices democracy. We observe elections. Election is a festival here, like in India and anywhere in the world. But the Taliban do not believe that there will be elections or democracy. So, and one thing. The other thing is that much of the Pakistanis who talk that we should have an Islamic Sharia, for example, there was a Pew poll back some time which says that around 80% people want Islamic Sharia in Pakistan. But none of those vote to the Islamist parties which speak of Sharia in their election manifesto. So same is the case in Afghanistan, that if Taliban are coming, they don't believe in democracy. They have just said they will be represented by the council. So that will be a new political system, I think, which is not being practiced in Muslim world. So obviously, much of the people do not understand what will be the political context and what will be the impact of such kind of a political system in Pakistan and many other Islamic countries. Many just want to have that kind of a Islamic Sharia, but obviously that has certain limitations. But unfortunately, we just can't have such kind of a system because we have practiced democracy, we have political parties, we conduct elections. So let's see how things unfold in future, and people will come to know that such kind of a rule in Afghanistan may not be what we actually want.
Thank you, Kamar Cheema, for your opening remarks, and I'll go to Sushant Sareen now. Sushant, I have never understood this. Kamar Cheema mentioned anti-Americanism in Pakistan. America has been giving Pakistan money for years and years and years. I mean, why should you have anti-Americanism? They should have anti-Chineseism, if there is a word like that, because the Chinese are giving them loans which they can never repay, not the Americans. The Americans actually gave them grants also. The the government of America, or the government of the United States of America, over a period of decades has helped Pakistan grow. All the Pakistani so-called Ashrafia don't want to go to China. They want to go to America. Yet it is the same people who fan these anti-American feelings. And I'll come back to Taliban, but I'd like a quick answer from you on this, please.
Yeah, but that's the kind of schizophrenia which Pakistanis suffer from. They will be yelling anti-American slogans and then queuing outside the American embassy for visas and wanting to go and settle in America. So that is the kind of split personality they have. Number one. Number two, you are right. The Americans I've done a study on this. Over the last at least 30 odd years, the Americans have only given grants to Pakistan, not loans. The Chinese have only given loans to Pakistan, not grants. So clearly, the Pakistanis do not appreciate what the Americans have been doing, and the Americans are so stupid that they actually think that what they've been doing with the Pakistanis actually works. It's clearly not working. So yes, there is this very deep-seated schizophrenia which is there. There is this anti-Americanism, there is this anti-Westernism, and at the same time, many of the people who actually flock that anti-Americanism and anti-Westernism are actually very westernized in their own homes. Let me just come to one thing which Mr. Chima touched upon: Sharia law. Sharia law, when you cut through the claptrap, because it is not codified, and in a country like Pakistan, which has multiple sects of Islam, none of which have the same Sharia and do not believe in the same Sharia, codification of Sharia becomes extremely complicated. But besides that, what Pakistanis consider to be Sharia is nothing more than cultural suppression and the repression of women. That is the sum total of Sharia. There is nothing more to it. That is it.
Okay, Sushant, thank you. Thank you for your opening remarks as well. Kamar Chima, my question to you is, a lot of Pakistani media is saying that, now Kashmir fateh karega Taliban. I've heard it 20 times since 15th of August. And I fail to understand. Okay, Kashmir fateh karega Taliban, it's all very good. And God bless everybody who wants to do it. Most welcome. But why don't Pakistanis have the same kind of, wish from their own army? I mean, sometimes Kashmir fateh karega China, sometimes Kashmir fateh karega Malaysia, sometimes Kashmir fateh karega Turkey, ab Kashmir fateh karega Taliban. Why don't they say Pakistani army fateh karegi Kashmir? Because, you see, and I'm asking this question in all seriousness, because they always expect somebody else to do the heavy lifting for them. And nobody's asking GHQ Rawalpindi to get active. And I'm speaking strictly in the reference of Taliban, because now this huge thing on Pakistani social media is that somehow Taliban will get Kashmir for Pakistan.
My point here is that who else is protecting Kashmir other than the Pakistani army? If Pakistan has an Azad Kashmir and Pakistan claims Indian occupied Kashmir, who else claimed Indian occupied Kashmir other than Pakistan and Pakistani army? So this is Pakistani army which has been working and trained for that. Who is protecting the LOC? Who is protecting the working boundary and the international border? This is all Pakistan army. So the Pakistan army has all the potential.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll again ask you this question. That is not what I was asking, Kamar Chima. I'm sure Pakistani army protects POK, it protects the working boundary, it protects the LOC, and I'm not saying anything about the Pakistani army. The Pakistani army is possibly doing what it is asked to do by the government of the day in Pakistan. All I'm saying is that why do the people of Pakistan, why does the media of Pakistan, why does the social media of Pakistan, मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा हूं कि आपकी उम्मीदें हर समय दूसरों से क्यों होती हैं कि वो आपको कश्मीर लेके देंगे, आपकी उम्मीदें अपनी खुद की फौज से क्यों नहीं होती? This is my question to you, Kamar Chima.
Well, I think for that matter, let me tell you that General Qamar Javed Bajwa, in one of his speech at 6 September, the Defense Day, said that the monopoly of violence lies with the state. So the Pakistani state does not believe that some individuals or that we will go to some other country for getting support for getting back the Indian occupied Kashmir. And some people in Pakistan, obviously there is a history of 75 years between India and Pakistan and on this Kashmir issue. So people have different perceptions, but Pakistan as a state and the Pakistani political leadership will never ask that the Chinese should come and help us get back Kashmir, or the Taliban would come and get back. And I think that some sentiments, some people are saying these are the sentiments which are very old, and people must be thinking like that Taliban will come and they will get back. That is not going to happen. Taliban have their own control over their territory. They have their own sovereign issues, and they are not going to dare for that. And Pakistan is not going to ask Taliban for that matter. I think this is a bilateral issue which has the global connections, and the international community have a clear position on that. So there is no state policy on that.
Okay, so Sushant, I think, one thing I'll say, I disagree with what Kamar Chima is saying, but I think he makes a far better spokesperson for Pakistan than Imran Khan. He defends it more passionately with more logic.
I have to disagree, but because I think Mr. Chima is, despite making a valiant effort, he's getting caught between two stools because it's an indefensible position. It's an untenable proposition. Because the question you asked was, why does the people of Pakistan not look towards the Pakistan army? The fact, and he says that people are free to say whatever they want to say. The state does not believe in it. But let's be very clear. When the trend Taliban are guardians, it was Taliban are guardians, unless of course the Pakistan army is also Taliban in uniform. Otherwise, the trending which was happening through the ISPR and through the troll armies of the ISPR was Taliban are guardians, right? It was not Pakistan army are guardians. And it was being done by the Pakistani state and in the name of the Pakistani people. So please, I think we should be very, very clear where that was coming from.
So Sushant, well taken. No, my question to you now is, we see all these people coming on the streets of Jalalabad and Kabul and protesting against, the Afghan Taliban, right? And they are saying that bring back our flag. Obviously, there is some sort of patriotism and pride in their flag because Taliban has pulled down the Afghan flag and, put up their own. Now, there are people have been killed, protesters are being killed. What do you have to say about that?
Look, let me say I'm pretty surprised. I was quite surprised that this kind of resistance is manifesting itself so soon. I don't know where exactly it's coming from, and I don't know how sustainable it is going to be. It is possible that it might grow into a bigger movement, and it is entirely possible and much more likely that the Taliban will crush it with weapons and snuff it out. This is a purely peaceful movement. These are the people expressing their patriotism, their pride in their flag, and raising the slogan of Allahu Akbar, which is actually trolling the Taliban. You are raising a religious slogan. The Taliban can't oppose it. But that Allahu Akbar is actually an anti-Taliban slogan. And what do the Taliban say? Don't say Allahu Akbar. How does that work? But I think they're going to brutally suppress it, which is the Taliban way of doing things. But Gaurav, I need to say something which is very, very important. And this was something which you said in your opening statement. Why are the Pakistanis so jubilant? I think one of the reasons why the Pakistanis are jubilant is because finally, all that dissemble and deception of the last 20 years, that we are neutral, that we are not supporting the Taliban, that we are on the side, we are fighting this war on terror, that was all nonsense. And all of that suppressed sentiment that they were supporting the Taliban has now come out when the Taliban has been victorious. The second reason, however, is more important. The Pakistan army and the Pakistani state actually does not expect the kind of repercussions and the kind of, these doomsday scenarios that some of the more enlightened people in Pakistan, analysts in Pakistan have been projecting, that the Taliban are going to actually ultimately backfire on Pakistan. I think the Pakistan army and the intelligence services think that they've got this all sealed up. There might be a little bit of, blowback, but something which they can handle perfectly well. In the larger scheme of things, they think that they've got a colony in Afghanistan, which they will now use to reap certain economic and political and geopolitical benefit. I think that's the thinking, which is why you see such unrestrained jubilation, especially among retired officers who were serving at a point of time when the Pakistan army was supporting the Taliban completely, as it is even now. Even now, people are saying that the entire cabinet is going to be made by the Pakistanis, who all are going to be included in the government will be decided by the Pakistanis, and the Pakistanis will be monitoring virtually everything that the Taliban are going to do, because they are going to be the real masters of Afghanistan.
Qamar Chima, I want to ask you, you see, for a very long time, Pakistan has maintained that Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is funded by India and it is used as a weapon against Pakistan. That's number one. Number two, the good Taliban is, of course, the Afghan Taliban, which for all practical purposes are freedom fighters. And as Imran Khan himself said, he spoke about freedom and he spoke about Zehni Azadi, and he spoke a lot of other things. The Prime Minister of Pakistan clearly and overtly, having that fan movement with the Afghan Taliban, which was still very recently a terror outfit declared by the US before the negotiations started. Now, I want to ask you, your army chief Qamar Javed Bajwa has said it very openly that both these entities, the Afghan Taliban and the TTP, are one. There is no difference. He said it in a parliamentary briefing. Also, during the Bagram raid on the jail that the Afghan Taliban conducted, the first people that they freed from prison were TTP. TTP has been almost functioning and operating with the Afghan Taliban, and they are absolutely one. What do you have to say about that, Kamar Chima? For very long you have maintained that TTP is paid by India. But Afghan Taliban and TTP are exactly the same. They are helping each other. And I've seen Pakistani media reports. I tweeted a report from a certain TV channel that they say that, they are absolutely one. There is no difference between the both.
Can I ask him a question which is related to yours? So, Mr. Chima, if along with Gaurav's question, if you can just answer my question, that if going forward there are terror attacks which take place in Pakistan, now that you don't have India to blame because you are jubilant India has not there in Afghanistan anymore, now whom are you going to blame for those terrorist attacks? Because now there is no Indian hand. So you've lost your excuse.
Yeah,
Well,
okay. Chima Saab, the consulates are shut. The consulates are shut, Chima Saab. Consulate chale gaye. Those so-called 66 terror camps inside Afghanistan, they are, obviously shut because Afghan Taliban are there. So India का जो पूरा terror infrastructure है जिसके बारे में आप लोग इतनी बात कर रहे थे वो तो खत्म हो गया सर. अब किस पे उंगली उठाई जाएगी?
Well, I think the terror infrastructure just cannot be eliminated overnight. If you remember, all the people from the Indian embassy who came back from Afghanistan to India, they were escorted by the Taliban in Kabul. Just recently, this has happened. One thing. The second thing is that we have yet to see what Taliban do. And let me tell you, the Taliban will not behave the way we believe they will behave. No, they are all powerful and they believe they have defeated the world's mightiest power, the world's superpower. So they have a sovereign land, they have a control over that, and they are in a position to establish relations with the other powers. So they are not our puppet, and we have openly said that, Foreign Office said that whatever limited influence we have over Taliban, one thing. And in Parliament's briefing, General Bajwa and the DGISI openly said that that the TTP and the Taliban have connections. But Major Saab, one thing is very important. Taliban and Al-Qaeda also have connections. And despite the promises which the Taliban made with the Americans in Doha on 29th February, this has been that the case has been that the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda are still in contact and they are working. So this is very tricky question that how the Taliban will make sure to the Americans, to the Pakistan and to the other countries that how they are going to distance themselves from Al-Qaeda and from the TTP, because TTP is also a globally designated terrorist organization like Al-Qaeda. So they have been hosting and giving them some kind of a space. And obviously Afghanistan was a lawless place. Everybody was paying everyone so that they could get the job done, and Indians and many others are doing. So we have yet to come at how we can pressurize Taliban on that.
Okay. Kamar Chima, you're a very good player of chess. I asked you something and you said something else, but hats off to you. Hats off to you. You totally skirted the issue, but very well done. Very well done. Sushant, I want to ask you, how seriously do you think you take this Northern Alliance piece that is coming together, especially with Amrullah Saleh trying to lead it along with the other players there? Of course, it cannot be an existential threat for the Taliban because the Taliban is another factor and these people are not so big militarily. But do you think they can be a pinprick or they can be an irritant to the Taliban?
I think it's a little premature to say whether this resistance will become much bigger or it will be snuffed out. It's very premature. Just as it is very premature to say that the Taliban are now firmly ensconced in Afghanistan and there will be absolutely no resistance to them from within or from without. I think both these conclusions, anybody who's reaching is reaching them very prematurely. For all you know that if the resistance within Afghanistan starts, bubbling up, starts manifesting itself, it is possible that Panjshir, if they manage to keep themselves independent, will become the locus of this entire resistance. And we are also hearing of some of the commanders from the Northern Alliance or the erstwhile Northern Alliance who had gone into Central Asia and have left Afghanistan wanting to come back. We also, are hearing stories of how many of the people who have currently, left everything might want to come back and join this resistance. How that plays out, we don't know. We don't know what the foreign powers are going to do. Will the Taliban break with the Al-Qaeda and all the other terrorist groups, including of the region? And if they don't, will the rest of the region be as benign towards the Taliban as they might be at this point in time? I don't know. What will the Americans do? Will the Americans clamp down and crush the Taliban financially and economically, or will they not, or will they simply turn their back and forget that Afghanistan never happened? We don't know that. So I think all of this is very premature right now.
You know, my last question will be to Qamar Chima. You know, Qamar Chima, apparently that's what the media says, that the Americans have blocked 10 billion funds, 10 billion US dollars worth funds of the Taliban which they had outside the country, and there are impending sanctions also because they want to run a country. Now they are no longer simply a terror outfit. They claim to be the rulers of Afghanistan. Qamar Chima, basically what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, the Afghan Taliban has appreciated India's infrastructure development in Afghanistan. They mentioned the Salma Dam, they mentioned the highways and the roads and the schools and the universities and the hospitals, and they said that we are not going to destroy any of these. And, you know, they have also said that we have nothing to do with Kashmir. We are not looking towards Kashmir. Sure, you know, you can say that we don't believe the Taliban or what the Taliban says. Maybe they'll do something exactly the opposite tomorrow. But for the now, it goes against what Pakistan has been saying all along.
There is a reality. Taliban are really realist players. They're into the power politics. I think that is going to be a very wise decision not to smash or to destroy whatever the Indians have invested there. But I think there is a difficult part on India that they will have to recognize Taliban and they will have to give them more money to secure the previous investment and to win over the hearts and minds of the Taliban for whatever they have been, whatever the Indians have been doing in the past in Afghanistan. And so one thing. Second thing is that I personally believe the Pakistan or the Taliban, they should not get into the Kashmir issue. Pakistan should not ask anybody like having a military support of someone in Kashmir in such kind of a circumstances. And the Taliban are not going to get into the Indian occupied Kashmir or this Kashmir issue. That will be very wise. So I don't see that will be kind of a rhetoric that the Taliban are saying, or some of the statements have come. But I think that statement came from the TTP, not from the Afghan Taliban, that if there will be an India-Pakistan fight or war on Kashmir, the TTP said that we will support with the Pakistan. But I think the Afghan Taliban, I haven't heard, maybe they have said. So in reality, Taliban are going to play as an independent actor and player, and they will establish their own relations, including India and many of the other countries, because they have all the components to establish relations and to be a sovereign country now.
Thank you very much, Sushant Sareen. Thank you very much, Qamar Chima. I'll end the program now with just one word to Qamar Chima. What we did in Afghanistan was not an investment. In purely finance terms, an investment has a return. It's something called the ROI. We do not expect any return from that. It was done in good faith. $3+ billion were spent in good faith as a friendly gesture. There is no return. We are not the Chinese. We don't say that here is $3 billion and next year we're going to take away $6 billion from you. No, that's not what India does. Thank you very much for joining, viewers. I'll be there with you next week with another set of very special guests and on another topic. Till then, from the studios, my team and I, Jai Hind.